Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for watching. Peace be upon you. This is part 4 of my review of this book by Anthony Flew. There is a God. In the last video that we made, part 3, we had stopped at the point that Anthony Flew was making, that 3 main points led him to rethink his worldview and to change his opinion from being a staunch atheist to being a deist and head towards being a theist. The 3 points he made, which he discussed in this book in detail, are the fact that nature is governed by laws, the laws of nature. Number 2, the origin of life. And number 3, that there is an existence, that this universe actually exists. Where did this universe and this nature come from? So he will be discussing those points that led him to believe that there is a God in this book in detail. Today, and in this part, we will start discussing the first point which he made, the point that there are laws of nature. So Anthony Flew states in this book, and I will be quoting from what he said and also from the citations that he made for other scientists such as Albert Einstein, Charles Darwin, Max Planck, Paul Davies. These very highly respected scholars that have had an immense impact on science and humanity in general. So he will be quoting from them. And you'll be surprised to see that some of those scientists that were thought to be actually atheists, and whom atheists are quoting to support their argument for atheism, are actually not atheists at all. An example would be Albert Einstein, which we will quote from his own words, and also even Charles Darwin. He was not an atheist either. So it is very funny and very strange that atheists use the theories of such scientists to support atheism. That's the irony of this point. So here Anthony Flew says, according to this argument, the argument of design, that this universe is designed, is fashioned in a very intricate and complex way. He says, according to this argument, the design that is apparent in nature suggests the existence of a cosmic designer. So basically this cosmic designer, whom theists refer to as God, he refers to here as a cosmic designer. So Anthony Flew admits and says, although I was once sharply critical of the argument to design, I have since come to see that, when correctly formulated, this argument constitutes a persuasive case for the existence of God. And what made him change his mind, basically, as he states here, are the developments in 2 areas in particular have led him to this new conclusion. The first is the question of the origin of the laws of nature. Where did these laws of nature? There are laws of nature that govern every aspect of this existence. There are physical laws, there are chemical laws, there are laws in biology, there are laws in every aspect of life. And those laws govern this nature at all levels, from the atom and the subatomic particles all the way up to the galaxies. So here he says, the first question, where did these laws come from? The second question is that, where did life and origin, what is the origin of life and reproduction? And that will be discussed in a separate chapter. But in this chapter here, he discusses where did these laws, these symmetries, these regularities that govern every single aspect of this universe, every single atom that forms your own body, that forms every object in existence, that form the planets, that form the stars, that form even the smaller items such as the mountains, the rivers, the trees, and then up to the largest items and objects in this universe, the galaxies. There are laws that govern every single aspect. Nothing is haphazard. Nothing is arbitrary. Then he defines what is the law. What is the definition of a law in nature? He says, by law, I simply mean a regularity or symmetry in nature. Then he says, there are regularities in nature, but that these regularities are mathematically precise, universal, and tied together, that's another issue. Not only are there laws that govern every aspect of this existence, but they are so precise and they are very well comprehensible and understandable that you can formulate them and express them into a mathematical equation that allows you to know how things in this existence interact and allow you to predict the outcome of any kind of experiment or the outcome of what will happen in the future according to these laws. How this universe will proceed from one point to the next point, to the next 100 years, to the next 1,000 years. How can we understand that? We do, and we are able to understand that because there are regularities, and that those regularities and these laws are so precise and so well understood that they can be expressed in the form of very accurate equations down to the smallest of the smallest fraction. Actually, Einstein describes those laws and says, and he gives them a term, he says reason incarnate. Reason has basically expressed itself and come into a physical existence in the form of this very well organized and complex universe. Then Anthony Flew says, the question we should ask is how nature came packaged in this fashion. This is certainly the question that scientists from Newton to Einstein to Heisenberg have asked and answered. Their answer was that, what was the answer of all these scientists? And you will see that this was their answer. This is not the answer he's going to give you right now is not the answer that is given only by Christianity or by Judaism or by Islam. The answer of scientists who basically dedicated all their life to material science, not to theism. Their answer for the existence of these laws that govern every aspect of our existence is the mind of God. Because reason and rationality can only come from a mind. Reason and rationality can only come from a rational being, a rational agent. An agent that has knowledge, an agent that has wisdom, an agent that has thought, an agent that has reason. This is how rationality and reason and wisdom would, this is where rationality, reason and wisdom would come from and originate from. He says then, Anthony Flew goes on and says, many prominent scientists of the modern era have regarded the laws of nature as thoughts of the mind of God. So the mind of God or the knowledge of God or the wisdom of God has manifested itself according to the will of God, of course, because this universe has not been here forever. It came into being at a certain point in time, 13.8 billion years ago. So there is an agent, a personal agent, who decided at that point in time to bring this universe into existence and to bring it into existence in this certain way that we see it and we live it. We witness it. So these thoughts came out, they were incarnated in this universe and were expressed in this physical universe that we are living in. Even an atheist such as Stephen Hawking, and as I mentioned to you in previous videos, Stephen Hawking had conflicting opinions whether God exists or not. And you will see here. Stephen Hawking ends his best-selling book, A Brief History of Time, with this passage. You'll be surprised. He says, if we discover a complete theory. I mean, he means a physical theory, a theory or equation that explains all, that gathers and combines and unifies all the laws of nature. If we discover a complete theory, it should in time be understandable by everyone, not just by a few scientists. Then he says, then we shall all, philosophers, scientists, and just ordinary people, be able to take part in the discussion of the question of why it is that we and the universe exist. Then he goes on to say that Stephen Hawking's, if we find the answer to that, it would be the ultimate triumph of human reason, for then we should know the mind of God. That's Stephen Hawking's, whom many atheists quote and support their arguments with his statements and sayings. He says, once we understand these laws of nature, all of them, and combine them into one equation or one theory, then we have basically understood the mind of God, which indicates that he finds that these laws of nature express the reason of God, the knowledge of God, the will of God, and the wisdom of God. On the previous page, he asked, even if there is only one possible unified theory, it is just a set of rules and equations. Then he goes on to say, what is it that breathes fire into the equations and makes a universe from them to describe? Wow. So the laws of nature do not intrinsically possess the power to bring the universe into existence. They describe the way the universe functions. But then on top of that, we need a power, we need a force to actually make and fashion a universe on which those laws would apply. Also, we need this force to maintain this universe in functioning, to preserve this universe and allow it to keep on working according to these laws of nature. We need this force. And then again, this is a separate argument again for God. So I'll try to make those videos short, but this chapter we will continue discussing in the coming videos. This is part 4. Please follow us on the coming parts reviewing this book, There Is a God, and please also refer to the previous parts 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.